On the 24th of March, we spoke about Officer A. Yep, that's right, another transparent police misconduct hearing. Officer A was a serving Metropolitan Police sergeant who was facing a misconduct hearing for abusive and coercive control after he was alleged to have subjected two women to sexual assaults, physical assaults and coercive control between 2013 and 2017. Oh dear, Cressida. It just keeps getting worse and worse for you, doesn't it? You may remember me speaking about this chap. It was alleged that he told one of the women the only reason he had sex with her from behind was so he did not have to look at her fucking ugly face. Well, now the misconduct hearing is over, this cretin's name has been released, which means we can now call him former Sergeant Paul Story. Story has been found guilty at his misconduct hearing this week after the panel found most of the gross misconduct allegations against him proven. During the 2 weeks of hearings, Paul Story denied the women's accounts, claimed he had never been violent, and alleged that they had conspired against him. But the panel chairperson said he failed to provide any credible motive for the women to make false allegations. However, despite both women reporting him to the police in 2017, there are no plans to convict him. Story once served as his local unit's lead on mental health. Sounds like he's got plenty of experience. Grabbed one of the women by the throat, dragged her down the stairs and threw her onto a table, and then raped her. He hit the second victim with a whiskey bottle, threw her against a door frame and a chest of drawers, and then raped her too. This victim was assaulted several times by Story. And it's no wonder why the police didn't act quicker. This is exactly the kind of plod the Met like to employ, based on recent events. Both women told the panel that the former sergeant was a sex maniac who used demeaning and misogynistic language. During one violent assault, Paul Story's neighbour heard him throw one of the women down the stairs and called the police, fearing that she had been killed. The panel heard how he controlled both women's day-to-day life, limiting their contact with friends and social media use. They said he left them with debt from car loans that they had taken out for him due to his poor borrowing history. Andrew Waters, representing the police, said the impact on both women was extreme. Both suffered marked deterioration of their mental health as a result of his actions. His behaviour was compounded by dishonest actions during proceedings, marked by a failure to take account for his actions. As a result, both women had to relive the suffering that they had at his hands during their days of evidence last week. The women complained about Story to Essex Police in November 2017, but he was never suspended by the Met. Instead, he was allegedly moved to back office duties until he handed in his resignation in September last year. In November 2018, Essex Police provided the Crown Prosecution Service with a file of evidence, but it was not until March 2020 that a final decision not to charge him was made. At his misconduct hearing held on the 5th of March, the panel concluded that he had raped and assaulted both women and found him guilty of gross misconduct. He was therefore barred from serving in the Met or any other police force in the future. However, even though the misconduct panel determined he was guilty, the vile piece of crap was rescued by the CPS, who said the file of evidence sent to them failed to provide enough evidence to prosecute him. Even after the victims challenged the decision, it was still upheld by some sick fucko in the CPS. A Met word salad aficionado said former Sergeant Paul Story had been on restricted duties in non-public facing role following the 2017 allegations until he retired 4 months before his first disciplinary hearing in September 2021. The spokesperson added a hearing date was expedited as quickly as possible based on the availability of all parties. There can be complexities around arranging misconduct hearings, both in terms of logistical arrangements and ensuring all available evidence and information is obtained to ensure a fair hearing. We recognise the impact awaiting proceedings can have on all parties and always strive to bring matters to as swift a conclusion as possible. Chief Superintendent Stuart said, word salad warning, the behaviour of former Sergeant Paul Story is abhorrent. He subjected two women to a number of sexual and physical assaults, as well as coercive and controlling behaviour. It is hardly necessary for me to say that this behaviour has fallen very far below what we expect of our police officers. This type of abuse has a lasting and significant impact on victims, and we take the allegations extremely seriously. Not as seriously as if it was a member of the public. We know it is really shocking to hear a police officer is capable of carrying out such behaviour, but it's not as shocking as you might think. As part of work to rebuild the trust Londoners have in us, we have created a new dedicated team focused on investigating allegations of sexual misconduct, as well as domestic abuse involving officers and staff. This team improves our ability to identify patterns of concerning behaviour. While we're working really hard on this, it will be of little consolation to the women former Sergeant Story abused, and our thoughts are with them. The Crown Prosecution Service said allegations of rape and violent assault are incredibly serious, and prosecutors look at the evidence very carefully. Following a decision by the Crown Prosecution Service that our legal test was not met to charge the suspect with rape or assault, the two complainants each requested a review. This was carried out under our Victims' Right to Review scheme by a prosecutor with no previous involvement in the case, and the original decision was upheld. We explained our reasoning in detail to the complainants, and that our role is to make independent and fair decisions based on the evidence. The panel ruled former Sergeant Story would have been dismissed without notice had he not already retired. Story was found guilty of breaching the standards of professional behaviour in relation to discreditable conduct, but gets to walk away after ruining the lives of two known victims. However, I find myself wondering how many more there may be who were too afraid to come forward, or who simply didn't know he was facing charges and so didn't come forward due to the fact that the police kept him anonymous. I mean, such a deterrent for others. I can't understand, with such harsh punishments, why there are still police who think they can get away with this kind of behaviour with nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Oh wait, that's because that's all they do get. Big thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.